BBC Radio Bristol. Steve Yabsley with you on a Friday evening. It's 23 minutes to 5. A South Gloucestershire man is taking on a year of physical challenges, all the while raising money for a Lyme disease charity. Alex Hamlin is doing 4 marathons, 1 100-kilometre ultra marathon, 3 half marathons, 2 Three Peaks challenges and an abseil from the Orbiter Tower in London, all within 12 months. It's in support of his sister Vicky, who has Lyme disease. The money raised will go to the charity Caudwell Lyme Co. And we can speak to Alex and Vicky now. Good evening to the pair of you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for coming on. Let's start with you, Vicky. Thank you for joining us. Tell us, first of all, about your health journey and how Lyme disease is tied in with that. When did you first realise that there was an issue?
So it was in 2016. I'd been travelling for about 9 months. I was away on a round-the-world trip by myself. I'd never had any previous health issues. And in the May of 2016, I had a rash all over the back of my legs. At the time, though, I wasn't ill, so I just assumed, I hadn't heard about Lyme disease. I didn't know anything about it. Like I say, just had this rash and, I thought it was ringworm and carried on travelling, and then it all started unravelling about 6 months later, and my health spiralled really, really quickly.
Just give me a bit more detail about that. What actually happened? How did you go downhill then?
So it started off with separate infections, lots of different infections that I thought were unrelated, and then a lot of flu-like symptoms. And the best way I can really describe it is like my body shut down bit by bit, and I started collapsing and fainting regularly. And then I was almost being referred to lots of different specialists for each symptom, because I started having heart problems, neurological issues, cognitive problems. Like I say, almost it just felt like my body was attacking itself. But digestive issues. I lost about 2.5 stone really quickly, and I just became bedbound. I couldn't walk kind of more than 20, 30 metres unaided.
And what effect does it have on your life now?
It's huge. I've been housebound now for 5 years. It has massively changed my life. I've gone from someone who was very active, I ran a marathon myself. I cycled to Paris, and I've been completely housebound, most often bedbound now since the end of 2016.
Well, hearing Vicky's story, it isn't hard to see why, Alex, you wanted to raise funds. But why did you decide to take on so many tough physical challenges to raise those funds?
It does sound exhausting listening to you rattle the list off. But I've done previous marathons over the years, and I felt just needed to do something a bit more extreme to help raise awareness and to support our fundraising. It is key that we raise awareness so others don't have to suffer the way Vicky has. It's just been really difficult seeing her over the past few years just sort of spiral downwards, really.
Out of the many physical challenges that you're competing in, that you're doing, which holds the most fear for you?
It's definitely the 100K. I've never done anything like that with in the past. I'm doing that with my girlfriend Claire, and we're both going to somehow drag ourselves through it, I think.
How fit are you now to start?
I guess I can run a half marathon fairly, off the cuff. I've got a fairly reasonable level of fitness. Training's taken me up into the early 20s at the moment.
And Vicky, what do you think of what Alex is doing on your behalf?
Two things. One, that they're bonkers for doing all these challenges, but obviously, really proud. And I think a lot of people, friends and family, it's hard really with something like Lyme disease to know how to help, because it is a very invisible condition. People don't see the daily struggles, and there are a huge amount, like every day is a challenge to get through. So I think it is hard to know how to help. So I see that really as a huge way of helping and raising awareness.
It seems to me that part of the reason that you have been so badly affected by this is that you didn't appreciate what it was to start with. What would you say to those people who have the early signs of Lyme disease, if they've even got a tick on their body? What should they do? What action should they take?
Well, this is the key thing, I think. The key message to get out there is that if you do get diagnosed early, you have a really, really good chance of recovering quickly, because if you go to the doctors, if you get bitten by a tick and go straight to your GP with the NICE guidelines and get antibiotics straight away, as the NICE guidelines recommend, then, yeah, like I say, most people have a good chance of making a full recovery really early on. It's those people who go undiagnosed or don't get the correct treatment at the beginning that have all these ongoing issues. It just means, the bacteria spreads further into the body, into the brain and the other organs and joints and muscles.
My daughter returned from France a couple of years ago on a school trip, and we found a tick on her leg, and then we found another one on her back, and my wife was flapping a bit, and we actually went to the doctor straight away and had them properly removed. I mean, what is the advice about removing ticks?
So either with a fine, you can get the proper tick removal kits from most supermarkets, and removing it that way. I think there's different types you can get, or tweezers as well, but it needs to be I'm going to get this the wrong way around now with my brain fog. I think it's the fine pointed tweezers, but you've got to be really careful to do it and twist the tick and not squeeze it, because I think if you squeeze it, you can leave the head in, or you can also squeeze its body, which means the contents of the tick's stomach inject into the person it's attached to. The best thing is to look on the Caldwell Lyme website or the Lyme Disease UK website, just in case I've given you the incorrect information.
Alex, have you always been close as a brother and sister? And do you think this fundraising will actually bring you closer together?
I'd like to think so. We've always sort of grown up playing football or doing outdoor activities together. It's obviously been difficult over the last few years, not only with obviously the pandemic, but just in general being able to see Vicky and spend much time with her. So hopefully it will help, yes.
And do you have a fundraising target?
Hoping to raise as close as possible to £5,000, but given the current climate, we're just going to try and raise as much as we can, and it's more about the awareness as well, really.
And how can people actually contribute to your donation page? Where can people find the details?
I do have a Just Giving page. If you were to search for Alex Hamlin Just Giving, or add the name of the charity called our Lyme Co. And it's fairly easy to find from there.
Well, I think it's a wonderful thing you're doing. It's going to take an awful lot of effort. And finally, Vicky, I mean, what is the prognosis for you? I mean, do you think you will eventually improve somewhat?
Yeah, I think because I was so active before, I do have relatively good chance of getting to remission. But again, I think the difficult thing is being told how long. It's a process of years. I thought at the time when I got my diagnosis it was going to be a few months of medication and kind of back to my old self, and didn't quite realise that treatment can be a few years to get there. And also it's lots of trial and error. It's not kind of one size fits all in terms of treatment. But yeah, I just try to follow success stories, keep in touch with people who have got into remission, because I think then it gives me that hope that if others have got there, from being in my position, then I can too, hopefully. So
yeah, well,
keep everything crossed.
I wish you well, Vicky, and it's sobering actually to appreciate that such a small, in effect, insignificant creature can have such a profound effect on a person. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's the size of a poppy seed, so it's so small, and they can be easily missed. So that's the other thing. Just if whether you've got pets or not, to do regular tick checks, especially now, people spending more time out walking. May to October is the peak time for them as well, and there is a rise of ticks. So I think, everyone should be doing tick checks. Well, best wishes to the pair of you. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, Alex and Vicky. Thank you.
There you go. That's Alex and Vicky Hamlin, local brother and sister. Alex is raising money for the charity Caldwell Lyme Co. With a series of physical challenges because Vicky, as we heard, has got Lyme disease, caught from a tick. Alex is doing 4 marathons, 100k ultra marathon, 3 half marathons, 2 3-peak challenges and an abseil from the Orbital Tower in London, all within 12 months. If you want to find out more details, go to Just Giving and put Alex Hamlin in and his name will pop up and details of all that he's doing.